After 22 years on the force, a Washington state trooper signing off for the final time after being forced to give up his job for refusing to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Listen.
This is my final sign off after 22 years of serving the citizens of the state of Washington, being asked to leave because I am dirty. State 1034, this is the last time you'll hear me in a state patrol car. And Jay Inslee can kiss my.
Joining me now, that state trooper, Robert Lamay. Good morning to you, sir. I cannot imagine what making this decision was like for you, the vaccine versus your job. So why did you ultimately decide to walk away from the job that you love?
Well, thank you for having me on this morning. And for starters, if I could, I'd like to, prayers go out to those Texas officers. This is happening daily across our country, and officers are losing their lives. So thank you for noticing that. It wasn't a question. When the governor of the state of Washington started his mandate project, my wife and my family we're not taking it. We don't do vaccines. We don't do flu shots. We don't do any of that stuff. So over the last month, it's been nothing but just beating up our fellow employees, constantly telling them they have to vax, they have to do this, they have to do that. Our leadership was actually asking for some directive in regards to COVID, what to do for COVID, for traffic stops. We worked 18 months without having any type of issues. And now suddenly we have to have these mandatory vaccines. So that not taking the vaccine wasn't even a question. The process, how they did it, was ridiculous, and making people do this or you're losing your job was ridiculous.
Yeah, you made your feelings on Governor Inslee very clear during your final call, and his vaccine mandate goes into effect today. Show proof of vaccine or essentially lose your job. So you said that it was not a question on whether or not you were going to get the vaccine. You weren't. Did you file for any sort of exemption?
Yes, ma'am, we did. I filed for a religious exemption. My family, we're God-fearing people, as well as a lot of the other troopers that I work with. They did accept our exemptions after some time, and then they told us, sorry, there's no job you can do with your exemption.
Wow.
So they came out and told us, well, we can retrain you for a different position, but there's only a few positions, and you're going to have to move across the state. Obviously, it wouldn't be to the salary that we have. So I'm with 22 years, I'm maxed out in regards to pay. So this is the best that I'll make the rest of my career. So for me to take a lesser position in regards to pay would be very detrimental to my family. These are the type of actions they were doing. They were not very open or clear what they wanted to do, how they wanted to do it. People had very good questions. In fact, our chaplain with the Chaplaincy Foundation here, he's even being fired. This is a gentleman that his job is to push the chaplaincy, and they're not even going to accept his exemption.
That's unbelievable.
So it's just not me.
Yeah, I'm sure that you're not alone in this. So what are other officers saying about this vaccine mandate?
People are pretty pissed. It's interesting. I started this off as a Jason Ranch show here in Seattle, and it just kind of blossomed. And we've had thousands of officers from across the country reach out and as this support, because you got to remember, this is happening in liberal Washington State with liberal Jay Inslee, but it can happen anywhere. You look at states like Texas right now, which I'm originally from. Grew up in Keller, Texas, and got a lot of good friends down there. Well, Texas has always been pretty conservative. Well, the more people move in there that think a lot like Jay Inslee, it tends to flip things. So voting is very important. In the state of Washington, guys didn't know what to do. We have a lot of young troopers. The guys that I work with, I can pretty much be their dad. I'm old enough to remember what an 8-track player was when I was a kid. So these kids are trying to figure out what they're going to do. We have lots of them with brand new babies, medical conditions. Their sole incomes like us. We're sole. My wife works part-time at a place, but we're basically sole income. I'm it. So with 4 kids, with that, people are scrambling. But the support's been great for our fellow troopers. We've been kind of lifting each other up, supporting each other. The outcry from the public has been amazing. I did not even expect this. Mine was kind of a screw you, Jay Inslee, we're done. But the way I have been reached out and loved on by the citizens of the United States of America, it's incredible.
Have you heard, Robert, from other officers that are willing to take the step that you did and are going to leave their jobs because of this vaccine mandate? Because we're dealing with a situation right now where the crime is up in liberal cities like Seattle. And then if you think about how you could have a vacuum of police officers leaving because of this vaccine mandate, it could get pretty scary.
Oh, yes, ma'am. My beat is Yakima, which is Eastern Washington. Our fatality rate is high. Our crime rate, our murder rate is high. We have people just opening up on cars with guns because they're mad because they cut them off. I mean, I've never seen a homicide rate like it is now. It's insane. And you're right. My fellow coworkers, they feel the same way. I mean, a lot of them, when we started off this program, there was several hundred that were willing to get fired. Well, then they started looking at their finances. They looked at what they can do, and they decided to take the vaccination. The question that people aren't asking are how many people that are vaccinated that are still willing to leave. And I've actually asked my command, and I've asked several other people. Nobody wants to answer that. I can tell you it's going to be probably double numbers. The people that have taken the vaccination in the state of Washington, trooper-wise, we're talking DOT, we're talking fire, we're talking buses, all these folks, they really did it long enough to finish off their careers, the few months, or to find another job.
Wow.
So the people that are supposed to be leaving today, I mean, just that's a drop in the bucket, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, I would be concerned about the safety of the future of this state.
The choices that people like you are being forced to make are pretty unbelievable. I was reading a portion of your bio, and you seem like a fantastic police officer. Delivered a baby in your first year as an officer. You also received the Red Cross Real Life Heroes Award. So wanted to highlight those two things and many other accomplishments. So it is certainly Washington State's loss to no longer have you on the force. We did reach out to Governor Inslee's office for a statement, have not heard back. But Robert Lamay, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it. And best of luck.
Thank you so much, guys, and keep doing your work. You guys are doing phenomenal work, and God bless.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.